Hey everyone, hope you're ready for another challenge again this week. This week we're going to be learning about electricity and energy consumption. One of the things that we can really do to help out our communities and our environment is to reduce our carbon footprint. Carbon footprint just means the amount of carbon that you consume in your day-to-day life, and one of the ways that people do this is by the electricity that they use in their homes. So there is a checklist in the description below. Take a look at that. You're going to want that because today we're going to go through and find out how much energy you are consuming in your house and how much you could be saving. So sit tight, stick with me. I'm going to give you a brief tour of my home and the energy that I use. So the first thing to do is go around your house and check for things like lights, ceiling fans, or electronics being left on even when they're not in use, and mark those down on your checklist. In this room, the lights and the fan are on, and there's a charger plugged in. When it comes to leaving things plugged in, a good rule of thumb is if you can unplug it easily, do it. And if you can't, don't worry about it. So I'm not going to mark that down because that charger would be pretty difficult to unplug every time. I'm going right by the thermostat, so I'm going to check that next. So you see that the temperature outside is 68 and the temperature inside is 65, which is good. You want the temperature in your house to be as close to the temperature outside as possible while still being comfortable. So here we can see that the bathroom lights have been left on, but the fan hasn't, which is good. Also, there are no leaks, so I'm going to write that down. Leaky taps or faucets can drain a lot of energy, especially if the water that's leaking is hot water. So here we can see that some lights have been left on. I was just using this room and I am coming right back to it, so that's fine. You can also see that the door is firmly closed, as are the windows. No leaks again in the faucet, which is good. In this room, we can see that there are no lights on. My family had just been using this room, but instead of turning the lights on, they decided to just use the sunlight, so I'll mark that down. You might notice with most of these lights, it's hard to tell whether they're LED bulbs or not. I happen to know that about half of them are because I've been changing them out, so I'll mark that down. Appliances use a huge portion of the energy we consume, and one of the best ways to check if they're energy efficient is to see if there's an Energy Star symbol anywhere on them. I checked all of the appliances in our house and none of them had an Energy Star symbol, so I will mark that down. The refrigerator and freezer also use a lot of energy, and how much is determined partially by how good the seal on the refrigerator is. So one way to check the seal is to put a piece of paper in the door of the refrigerator and then tug it out. If it's easy to tug out, the seal isn't working as well, so the refrigerator has to use extra energy to keep the inside cold. If it's difficult to tug out or impossible, that means the seal is working really well, so the refrigerator is conserving more energy. One of the things that determines how much energy the water heater uses is what temperature it's set at. If it's set under 120, it's using less energy, and if it's set over 130, it's using more. I have an older water heater and wasn't able to find what temperature exactly it was set at, so I had to take my best guess. I know that the water gets really, really hot in the house, so I figured it's probably set over 130, and that's what I decided to write down. Another one of the big uses of energy in our houses is a washer and dryer. If you don't have a washer or dryer in your home, you can skip this step. If not, one of the best ways to conserve energy is by doing less loads of laundry, which means doing full loads rather than doing more smaller loads. You may have noticed that I didn't go into every room in my house, which is a-okay. Odds are that you live with other people, and if that's the case, they may not want you to go into their bedroom or other parts of the house. Just take your best guess, and that'll work just fine. So now it's time to go through the checklist. Once I've marked down everything I noticed, including some things that didn't make it into the video, I found that there are a lot of ways that I could be saving energy in my home. One good place to start is anywhere that you marked a lot of negative things. So for me, that would be making sure that I turn lights off in rooms that I'm not using and making sure that my chargers are unplugged. So now go ahead and do your own energy audit by yourself, with a friend, with a family member. And if you would like to take a video or some pictures and send it in to submit to our channel, you can do that by sending those to steminmotion@utah.gov. We have noticed that a couple of people who have sent links to Google Drive documents, we've had a really hard time opening. So do your best to try to attach those as a document directly if you can. If you want to receive a prize package for your submission, make sure that you include your name and a mailing address. That is your full address, including the city and the zip code, so that we can get those out to you. So remember, have fun, stay curious, and we'll see you next week.